We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's talk.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. And let me wish you all happy Democracy Day. This is The Corridors on Lagos Talks 91.3. My name is Emmanuel Odeyemi. I'm your regular host on the show. And it is with great pleasure that I invite you to join us on this all-important discussion on this very auspicious occasion. It is June 12th, 2021. And my guest today is none other than Professor Kingsley Moghalu. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. I'm great. Happy Democracy Day to you.
Yes, same to you. I don't know whether we're happy or unhappy, but I wish you the best.
That's a different discussion entirely.
Absolutely.
Yes. So Professor, my last interaction with you was way back in 2018. So it feels great to talk to you again today. I wish it was physical, but it's okay. It's a new dimension to how we interact with each other these days due to COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. So let's get into this discussion. Well, it's a Democracy Day, and I'm going to ask you, do you think there's anything to celebrate about our democracy? Where exactly do you think we are? Is this actually a democracy?
Well, there are two questions. Is there anything to celebrate? Is this actually a democracy?
Yes.
I think there's something to celebrate in the sense that, we're not under military rule. Nigerians can speak their minds as to whether or not the democracy we have instituted is functioning, at its peak capacity, if you see what I'm saying. Now, which brings me to the question, is this really a democracy? What we are practicing in Nigeria is not a real democracy. There's no question about it. It's a ritual of democracy where every 4 years, people go to the polls essentially to confer legitimacy on a ruling class, not a governing class. So I put out a tweet this morning in which I said, let us all resolve today that our democracy will become government for the people, of the people, by the people, not government by politicians, of politicians, for politicians, which is what we're practicing in Nigeria today. So it's not a real democracy, period. We still need, our votes to count. We still need a more informed electorate. These are the hallmarks of a real democracy, which we have not yet attained.
All right. So if you see the promos we put out, we titled this discussion "The State of the Nigerian Nation." Professor,
Yes.
do you think that truly, based on what we are seeing now, what we're going through as a nation, the definite problems everybody can see, should we really, really be alarmed at the state of things in this country?
Yes, we should. But I also don't think we should be despondent. I think it should move us to action, not for us to just throw our hands and give up hope that Nigeria has become irredeemable. It may turn out at the end of the day to be as unpleasant as it is. It may turn out actually to be for the good, because Nigerians have suffered so much in recent years. The poverty in this country is horrible. The unemployment levels are horrible. The recent challenges to the democratic rights of Nigeria, including the right to free expression, have been very unpleasant. But it is, and then all the, agitations for secession and things like that,
yes,
have forced us to confront the fundamental question of what does Nigeria mean to all of us? What does Nigeria mean to each and every one of us? Has Nigeria lost legitimacy in the eyes of its citizens? If so, how can it be restored? So the forcing us to confront these fundamental questions may ultimately end up pushing us forward in nation building. So let's just hope that we don't waste this crisis. That's my hope, that we build a stronger and better country out of what we're going through today.
Okay, so from your answer already, you're leading us to where I was actually going. And I'm going to ask you, what's your opinion about the calls for restructuring, constitutional review? Are these the things we should be looking at? Is this the right direction to take at this time? And then what do you think are the processes?
Yes, certainly it's the right direction because, there's no question in my mind that somewhere along the line, the Nigerian state has had an accident. And, our vehicle is seriously, damaged. And Nigeria needs a rebirth. And the only way to give Nigeria a rebirth is to create a sense of belonging from all Nigerians in the idea of Nigeria. And the only way you can do that is to address the issue of the constitution, the structure of the country. These are things that are giving a lot of people unhappiness. Many people feel marginalized. Many people feel excluded. Many people feel that the potentials of themselves as individuals and their different regions are not being maximally achieved. So if you look at the current structure, you will see that so long as there is an over-centralization of power in the federal government, so long as the federal government controls the rents from the mineral resources of this country, the country cannot prosper economically to start with, and politically, the democracy will not develop very well because there's an unhealthy, excessive competition for power at the center. The presidency becomes the be all and end all. Whereas if you devolved power fundamentally, devolved resource control fundamentally, people can get on with their lives in the various regions and not particularly care who the president is. And that's how it should be. In America, for example, they have a strong federal government, but they have a strong state government as well, and local governance. 70% of the governance in the United States takes place at the sub-national and county level, without creating a weak federal government, which brings me to the question of process that you mentioned.
Yes.
I think Nigeria needs a new constitution, not a constitutional review.
Oh, wow.
Let's just be clear where I stand. Now, but lest the perfect be the enemy of the good, let's give benefit of doubt to what the constitutional review process will bring out. But I would have preferred that we begin a process to create a constituent assembly, to create a new constitution. That's what would serve Nigeria better ultimately, rather than panel beating this vehicle that has fundamentally broken down. So we need to start that process. I, of course, as you know, recently announced my intention to run for president again in 2023. And I said that Nigeria needs a president who has the political will and the capacity to initiate a proper constitutional restructuring of this country. It calls for two things: political will, because it's a heavy lift. It's not a small job. And it calls for capacity, because it calls for an intellectual understanding of constitutionalism. You see what I'm saying? An understanding of how you create constitutions and how such a constitution can serve the aspirations of the people. That calls for a certain amount of knowledge to be able to drive it, even though we know it's a process for the National Assembly. But the president has an important role, because if he or she is pushing this idea from the bully pulpit, then it will move faster. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Professor, I find it very interesting that you're a proponent of a new constitution. Recently, I know that Professor Sage was advocating for us to go back to a particular constitution, which is the 1963, which, according to him, answers all of the questions and all of the agitations that we have on the table right now. Do you think that is a direction we can look at?
I think it is. I think the 1963 Constitution, by most accounts, satisfied pretty much most people in this country as a model of governance. Under that model, the regions had, their own resources, and they contributed 50% royalty revenues to the central government. I would recommend that the regions or the states control about 60 to 70% of their revenues in this new dispensation, and maybe contribute 30 to 40% to the federal government. Now, but we should understand that 1963 is different from 2021. Nigeria had 4 regions at that time. Obviously, we cannot go back to those 4 regions, but we can use a regional model based on the current 6 geopolitical zones, or we can create a few more zones. Maybe we could have 8, maybe 10, maybe 12, but not more than 12. I think Nigeria can accommodate that. But I do like a regional structure as opposed to the states. Many people have different arguments. I can understand those arguments, but a regional approach to development in Nigeria will bring more balance. And, I think it'll be better for the economy, because when you have economies of scale, a larger population and area, production, manufacturing, trade can take place more productively within such enclaves than some of the states that today we know are not viable. Another problem, another issue, not a problem, of course, the 1963 Constitution was based on a parliamentary democracy. Again, there are debates. We are running a presidential system. So therefore, we cannot totally copy the 1963 Constitution. But it is a good model to look at going forward. I think so too.
But your preference is actually to draw a brand new constitution.
I think that would serve Nigeria much better. Nigeria needs to be born again.
Very interesting. All right, so Professor Kingsley Moghalu, we are at a point where it is very evident that there's no 2 ways about it. It's clear that the economy is in bad shape. People are suffering, and there's several attempts have been made. And the most recent, which readily comes to my mind, is September, that was 2019, September 2019, the federal government set up an economic advisory council, an A-list council. I remember Bismarck Rewani in that team, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, and a host of other people. And interestingly, nothing has come out of it. What exactly is the problem with the Nigerian economy?
That's a very good question. You see, the truth is that no country can develop faster than the competence or incompetence of its political leadership. That's why you have a subject called political economy. Anybody who thinks that economies develop in the abstract, separate from politics, the quality of political leadership and governance, the quality of political institutions, which must be strong before you can have strong economic institutions, does not understand the wealth of nations and how it is created. Now, I want you to know that the idea of an economic council actually was proposed by my humble self in my book, Build, Innovate, and Grow. In chapter 25 of it, I think, and I talked about managing the Nigerian economy. And I set out how such a council should be formed and how it should operate. So, but what was done, recently, a few years ago, or I don't know when that council was created, but it wasn't conceived well. First of all, it's a part-time body, which should not be the case. In my own vision, if I were president, my economic advisory council would be full-time. And it would have not less than 3 members, but not more than 5, who will be full-time economists of various specializations. You will have those who are into macroeconomy. You'll have those who are into economic development. You'll have those who are into industrial economics. You'll have those who are into agricultural economics. There'll be different specialties, and they'll monitor the economy 24/7. The chairman should be the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, who will be the chief economic advisor to the president. This was my model. But for whatever reasons, the government did not follow this model, even though they may have copied the idea. But the thing with ideas is that sometimes if the person who's the spirit that came up with it is implementing it, then it may be more likely to succeed. But going back to the economy itself, I've given you the foundation for why, despite having an economic team of competent economists, the economy is just at the bottom. It's because there's a fundamental disconnect between the politics and the management of the economy. So therefore, the fundamental issues about economic management in this country are still to be addressed. And some of them are political, like the restructuring issue. So long as the federal government controls the oil rents and distributes to the rest of the tiers of government, there will always be a fight for, there will always be that rent-seeking struggle. You see what I'm saying? And that's not good, So some of the answers lie in this matter of the constitution that we're talking about. Remember that in the early 60s, Nigeria was doing very well economically until the military coup, interrupted our economic progress. But that's because there was a political crisis. Then the military decided to intervene, in my view, wrongly. Anyway, so this is it. The economy of this country has to be fundamentally, rejigged. And that requires a political leadership that is economically literate. That is what I'm saying. You need to understand economic management, economic philosophy as a political leader for you to be able to say, this is what I would like to do. And here are the people that I'm going to find the right people who understand what I understand, or maybe even understand more than I do, to lead the economy in a certain direction.
Will I be right to deduce from your statements that this current administration lacks political intelligence?
I wouldn't put it so crudely, or so in such a disparaging way to say that they lack political intelligence. I mean, there are people who have political intelligence. It's just how that political intelligence is put to use. If political intelligence is put to use in the wrong way to perpetuate maybe sectional advantage or put to use in the service of just politics without effective governance, then it's not political intelligence put to good use. It's political intelligence put to the wrong use. It's not serving the people of Nigeria. That's what I'm saying. Nigeria needs a new leadership, not just needs a new leadership with a head to comprehend the issues and address them, and a heart for the people. So you need head and heart. But a lot of our members of our political class, as we know, are quite selfish.
All right, Professor, out of curiosity,
yes,
I like the idea you put forward that we need an economic team that is full-time, not people who will come for meetings and then go away
once every 6 weeks or something.
Do you have any names that readily come to mind for you if you perhaps are the president as we speak?
Yes, I do, but I would not mention them just to respect the privacy of such people. But if I become president today, I know I have a clear sense of who will be members of my economic council. I have that. And I know several people who will be in my cabinet. I know that already, because when I announced that I was going to run for president, I said, I'm seeking the opportunity to have a dream team help me manage Nigeria on behalf of the people and for their interest.
Okay, all right. So while you were answering earlier questions, you hinted or touched on secession, calls for secession, and I was going to ask you that already. That
yes,
what do you make of these calls for secession from the IPOB and other groups? Are we better off as a nation, Nigeria, as we have it now?
I believe we are, but only if we are able to assure equity and justice for all Nigerians. That's the condition. You see, I prefer that Nigeria remain Nigeria, and I believe in its possibilities. But it's very important that for those possibilities to be achieved, that we have equity and we have justice. And right now, we don't. Since we don't, you can understand why some people are agitating. It's a cry for justice. They are feeling fundamentally marginalized. And you cannot spank a child and then tell the child, don't cry. It is up to the government to bring the agitators to the table and to say, what's your grievance? Or to begin to address those grievances as they understand them. It's very interesting today that I think I read a report where the Minister of Defense and the Minister of Internal Affairs went to the Southeast, met with leaders of the Southeast, the governors and a number of other leaders, and said very clearly that they understand the complaints about marginalization and will present them to the president. And the in his Democracy Day address today also said that he had heard and will try to do something about the feeling of alienation of a section of the country. Of course, we all know who he was referring to. So these are the things that are behind the agitation. Go and address the fundamental problem. Don't just spend your time condemning the agitators. That is a lazy approach to an issue, or just flood the place with military people, thinking that the military will solve what is essentially a political problem.
All right, Professor, let me just ask you what you think about this idea of marginalization of the Igbo people. Do you honestly think that this group of people have been marginalized?
I think most people would accept that that is so, especially politically. The Igbo people in Nigeria have, of course, been known to be very resourceful economically and business-wise and in commerce. But politically, quite clearly, there is a sense of marginalization, especially in the sense that if you look at the appointments, for example, if you look at the national security architecture in Nigeria today, you will see, of course, that they're almost virtually completely excluded. There is, of course, a certain sectionalism in the whole architecture that also excludes other parts of Nigeria, the Southeast. Let's understand that it's not just the Southeast that is agitated. The Southwest is increasingly agitated. The South-South is also agitated. So the Southeast may just bear the worst brunt of the whole issue of marginalization, but they're not the only ones. The Middle Belt. So the country is in a state of ferment and needs a rebirth. That's why I say what I say. So I think there is, and of course, in the sense that, if you look at, for example, from 1999, that different parts of the country have had the opportunity to produce the president. But the Southeast just has never produced a head of government of the country democratically. And that is an issue because, especially given the history of the Civil War, one of the ways to bring reconciliation is in a very practical way of showing the side that lost that war of secession, that yes, we're all brothers, we did not want you to secede, and we're all brothers in this one Nigeria, and we're all equal. And to prove that, we're all going to work together to make sure that politically you have the opportunity that other parts of the country have had. So that would go a long way to addressing the issues of marginalization. But I want to be clear that representation in itself, while it's important to give a sense of equity symbolically, is a very different thing from competent to govern. Nigeria needs a competent and visionary leader. And, if you can combine that with political equity and justice, that will be the best solution.
All right. Okay, so there's no doubt that one of the biggest problems facing us as a nation is insecurity. And over the years, we've battled insurgency. It's come down now to banditry, kidnappings, and abductions. Looking at the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria being a retired general, does it bother you that we're finding it difficult to surmount these security challenges?
It bothers me, but there is more to it than it bothering me. I think it should be a lesson to Nigerians in terms of leadership selection. One of the reasons a lot of people were attracted to this current president in 2015 was because he was a retired general. And therefore, many people felt he would be able to deal with the issue of security quite effectively. That has not been the case. And one of the things that tells us, which I know, but it's important that a lot of people also know, is that the hood does not make the monk. You see, security is not just about having a military uniform or having a military career. In the 21st century, security is a multi-dimensional and complex thing. It involves questions of human security. Do you have food in your stomach? Do you have education? Do you have skills? Do you have jobs? Those things are all part of the equation. Is there a trust between the citizens and the government? Because where there is trust, then civil-military relations or relations between the population and the security agencies will become better. And that will then lead to an improvement in what we call human intelligence, humans. Is there effective international relations? Terrorism in Nigeria is a cross-border affair. Boko Haram is operating from Chad, Cameroon, and so on. What's the relationship with those countries in terms of effectiveness of the collaboration? I spent many years in the United Nations, and I dealt with some of these issues in international peace operations and security operations, and helping to rebuild failed nations like Angola, Cambodia, Croatia, Somalia, Rwanda, and so on. So I have a lot of experience in this kind of area, and that's where I speak from the background of that experience. That security is far more than just having a military career.
So do you think it's the capacity that is lacking, or just probably there's something else we don't know? Let me just put it that way.
Well, there's certainly a capacity issue. There is a capacity issue, but there's another issue, and that is an issue of political will. You see, you have to combine political will with capacity. There's an issue, when I talk about political will, there has to be complete loyalty to the interests of Nigeria as a corporate entity. You should not allow any other loyalty to interfere. And there are very disturbing reports we get that seem to suggest conflicting loyalties in some parts of the military or the security forces. We've had people saying that they were shot for being too effective at killing Boko Haram members. I mean, this is unbelievable, So if you have, double loyalties to the Nigerian state and some other actors or some other ethnic attachments or whatever attachments, then it complicates your fight against terrorism quite clearly. So there is a capacity issue. There's an issue of political will. These are all factors in fighting security. Because when I talk about capacity, I've given you all the various dimensions of the security of this country. I have never worn a military uniform, and you would never think looking at me as a former central bank deputy governor, a former UN official, it may not occur to you that I have some understanding of how to arrest the security situation, because I am not a military. So we as Nigerians need to become a bit more sophisticated in how we assess people who aspire to leadership, and know how to dissect them and interrogate their ideas. And it is that interrogation of ideas that should determine how we cast our vote. Exactly. Yeah.
That will lead me to that question I was about to ask you. Fantastic.
Yes.
You took that direction. A lot of people have advocated for a mindset change. People feel that the problems we are facing in Nigeria are there, but the way out is first as a people for us to think differently. Yes. I've listened to people say that even if we have a good president, if we have a good government, without a change of mindset, Nigeria would not see a different country. Do you think this is right?
I think they are correct to a very large extent, but I want to link that to the question of political leadership. It is the role of a leader to influence the way the citizens of a country think. And so as a man thinketh, so is he, or so is she. As a woman thinketh, so is she. So if you have the kind of political leadership that thinks right and has the ability to motivate, to inspire the citizens to think and act in the right direction, then you can have this mindset change. That's something that is called worldviews. And that is how we see the world, how we react to the world, how we navigate our way in the world based on our understanding of it. We have it at the level of the individual. We have it at the level of societies as a group. If you look at, for example, the formation of the United States, you will see how the worldview of the United States was shaped in the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, and all the debates about the Federalist Papers, their attitude to international affairs, their sense of themselves as a God's own country with a manifest destiny. If I were president of Nigeria, this is the kind of thing I would be able to establish for Nigeria. I would be able to influence our citizens to think different, because I have the level of intellect to articulate this vision for everyone as a leader. And then you show example going forward. This is the kind of leadership Nigeria needs for us to have the rebirth, alongside the restructuring issue that will make the governance more effective. So yes, the mindset is really very important, and we need a complete reinvention of the Nigerian mind. But that calls for a lot of things, and it will start from the top. You know, we also have to teach our children this worldview from an early age. For example, in elementary school and secondary school, in my book, Build, Innovate, and Grow, my vision for our country, which was my manifesto and remains so, I did set out an example of a worldview charter that can be taught to young people, which begins from 1914, the amalgamation, and goes through to the Civil War, to various things. We must confront certain things and teach our children to be patriotic above, tribe or above other sectarian divisions.
Professor, I'd like to ask you, what's your opinion about the concept of young leadership? People have proposed that we should probably be looking in the direction of having younger people involved in politics and then holding political positions, as against this current crop of politicians who have been there for ages. Do you think this can engineer a change?
I believe it can, and I believe it will. The challenge remaining for us is to make it happen. So if we talk about it all day long, and when the elections come, you're voting for the old brigade because A, they have the resources, B, you say they have quote unquote structure, C, this, that, then you are voting against your own interest. It's time for Nigerians to put their money where their mouth is. If you like a leader, a potential president, or a potential governor, or senator, or House of Reps, if you think the person is capable, find the person's party and vote for that party. In doing so, you're voting for that man or that woman. But if you say you're voting first for a party, say the APC or the PDP, then you will not find good leadership. You will not likely find young leadership, because these are political machines, controlled by very experienced career politicians that have made politics a big business in this country. And we need to move in a different direction towards younger people who make up 65% of Nigeria's population. So Nigeria's leadership should reflect its population, in my view. I think it's important that the youth come to the table, but they should come to the table in 3 ways. They must come to the table by registering to vote and voting. They must come to the table by joining political parties. They must come to the table by running for political office. What happens is that you find a lot of youth interested in political office, but they're not interested in the first 2 things. So there cannot be a youth takeover without these 3 things I have mentioned to you. Most important of which is to register and actually vote. Because when you vote and you can vote for in the direction of the change you desire, then you're actually affecting that creating that change. But if you have, like we had in 2019, 84 million people registered to vote and only 28 million people voted, what sort of democratic outcome do you think you can expect? It is just not acceptable, the excuse a lot of people give. Oh, our votes will not count. Oh, they will rig the election. Oh, they will do this. That is what I call the surrender brigade. I'm not a member of it. If I was a member of it, I wouldn't be saying, I wouldn't have run for president in 2019, and I wouldn't be saying that I'm available again in 2023 to serve the Nigerian people if they offer me the opportunity. I could have surrendered. There are a million things I could be doing with my life that would be very comfortable, and I'm a successful person. I don't need to be doing this. I am driven by a passion for our country and our people. So I'm saying to our youth, that they need to step up to the plate. That's what I'm saying. And that begins with registering and vote. If you vote in large numbers in the particular direction, it's very difficult to rig elections. It's because turnout is low that rigging elections has been easy in this country. But of course, we're also pushing for electoral reform, and we're very hot on that trail.
Okay, so very, very good. Before I take you up on your aspiration, I was going to ask you a few questions. Let me quickly just have your opinion about the recent Twitter ban by the federal government of Nigeria. What do you think? I see you're smiling.
Well, I think what I think is clear. I have been tweeting since the ban. So I don't, I said, can somebody show up and arrest me, for exercising my constitutional right to free expression? which is there in the Constitution. You cannot ban that right. You may have issues with Twitter, and there are many ways of sorting them out, but any notion, such as we heard initially, from the Attorney General, or that the Attorney General will prosecute people for going on Twitter, it's just, funny, because that shows that there's a lack of understanding of the constitutional foundation or the legal regime governing this type of thing. So I do not support that ban. I think it was, first, it's also not good for the Nigerian economy, because it signals, that this is not an investment environment for many people looking for where to put their money. And you shouldn't be surprised when people bypass Nigeria and go to Ghana to set up car manufacturing plants, or even Twitter itself, or COVID, vaccine manufacturing facilities. It is these things that send signals. Nigeria should not be making itself a pariah in international affairs and international business. We should be. We have a market, and we should be business friendly, and put the economic interests of Nigerians above the ego of political leaders.
Professor, I hope there's a possibility that the Attorney General might be listening to this interview.
I would welcome that, and I would be very happy to engage him.
It might actually come for you.
I have my lawyers too. He's not the only lawyer in Nigeria.
All right. So last time out, you came under the YPP. So
yes.
I'm getting questions already on social media and on WhatsApp, asking if you're still riding on that same party.
No, right now I'm not a member of any. I resigned from the YPP in October 2019. And I stated the reasons very clearly. That after the elections, one of the lessons I learned was the importance of focusing on electoral reform. And I said, I want to do so on a non-partisan basis. And I also want to take a little bit of time out from partisan politics. These were the things I made very clear. So right now, I am not a member, and since then, I have not been a member of any political party. Obviously, if I will run for president, I have to be a member of a political party.
Definitely.
So I said that we have started a political movement called Moghalu for Nigeria, Moghalu 4, numerical 4, Nigeria. And, we're inviting all who share our vision to become members of this movement. And together, as a movement, we will decide what political party to join in the next few months. And we will join any party of our choice.
Is there a remote possibility that you might be joining either of the APC or the PDP?
In politics, you don't rule out anything, and you don't rule in anything. So I would like to keep an open mind, but all options are open. But, we know that in practice, these two parties, there are dynamics that control them. And those dynamics may not necessarily be in favor of candidates such as myself, who are not money bags. They play money politics, those parties. It's all about money. And if you have not stolen government wealth, like I have not, you have to. So, but if they decide of their own that they want to reform themselves and present a new face to the electorate and say, let's just say in a possibility, Kingsley, Professor Kingsley, we will put you on our ticket. Of course, I would have to consider that as a politician. Do you see what I'm saying? But there are 18 political parties in Nigeria, and we must look at all of them, to decide on what platform we have to go. Because like I said, it's not just about me. This is not about me. The movement that we are forming, we will seek positions as governors, as senators, as legislators, as members of the House. That's why I said we will join a political party as a movement. And there are many people in that movement who have leadership capacities beside myself. So this is the way we're going to approach it. The idea that Nigerians have that if you're not in the APC or the PDP, you cannot win the presidency is self-defeating. It is one of the reasons the country is not being well governed. Because as I say, Nigerians should look for competent leaders and vote for their party, not first of all, look for the party So if the party presents a chimpanzee, you will vote for it. If they present a donkey, you vote for it, simply because it's my good old APC or PDP. Now yourself, they do. You have to look for people who can govern. So it's not just about politics without governance. What is the purpose of politics in a democracy? It is to produce governance that can be effective and bring progress. But that's not happening in Nigeria, because we're just playing politics, but there's no real governance. So until the Nigerian citizens begin to focus on governance, not just, oh, this party is likely to win, so let me vote for it. So you're joining a bandwagon going to nowhere. Why don't you vote for who you think should win? If millions of people vote for who they believe should win, that candidate actually then has a chance to win. Then they talk about structure. You can be the structure for whoever you think is the right kind of candidate. You can form a structure behind that person. We are, of course, in that process of forming a structure that goes down to the grassroots, to all the local governments and so on. So, but these are some of the elements that I think people should have in their mind when they are looking at 2023, or even looking at me specifically. So that's how I would look at it. I can't tell you I'll join this party or that party right now.
All right. Very quickly, because we're fast running out of time, do you think that independent candidacy is one of the directions that can be taken to change the face of our electioneering process? And
I think it would. I think it would bring a lot of positive change to Nigeria's political culture if a new constitution, for example, or INEC laws were to provide for independent candidacies. I don't see why not. We should be able to do that.
All right. So already the phone lines are blinking and people are sending in messages. So I'll just let it rest here and go to a few messages that are coming in. Someone says I should ask you, his name is Wilson, says, how can we join the movement? And he also wants to know how he can follow you on social media.
Oh, very good. Well, first you can join the movement by going to the website Moghalu4Nigeria.org, Moghalu4, numerical 4.org. So that's you can join, register there. We're developing methods now to bring on board shall we say, analog, citizens who may not have access to social media. We're setting up structures to be able to capture their data, those who are interested in being part of our movement. So that's one. You can follow me on social media at Prof Kingsley, which is Twitter. Yeah, that is where I am most active on social media. And you can follow me there. There are also pages on Instagram and then, of course, Facebook. But Twitter is ideal.
Okay, there's a message from Udofia Ekpenyong, and he says, okay, he asked me to please tell Prof to never run on those giant platforms. Let's not deceive ourselves. They'll never let him do what's right.
That's a very good comment. And, I must say, it kind of goes towards my own sympathies or my own feelings. So I understand where he's coming from, Udofia, and we will see. I will consider that advice carefully.
All right, so at this point, I'd like to open up the phone lines. If you're just joining us or you joined us at some point, I've been having this very lively discussion with Professor Kingsley Moghalu, ex-deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and presidential aspirant. He contested in the last elections and is coming back again in 2023. We've been talking about the state of the Nigerian nation. If you want to join this conversation, or perhaps you want to ask him a few questions, the lines to call are 0809-234-5913, which is also a line for WhatsApp messages, 0809-191-3913, and 0809-222-0913, and the following landlines 01515-0913 and 01515-1913. Lagos Talks. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Yeah, Professor, I greet you, sir.
Good morning.
You're an intellectual. I pray for you that God will see you through with your aspiration.
Thank you.
I'm a member of the APC, to be candid.
Oh,
Thank you.
If we can have you as the president of Nigeria, I think I, as a person, I shall be very grateful. My name is Giacomo. Thank you. God bless you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you, my brother. Yeah.
Lagos Talks.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Denny.
Oh, Mr. Adeyemi, nice to have you.
Thank you very much indeed. And thanks to Professor Moghalu. It's nice to have him.
Thank you.
Yes. Nigeria it's a country of natives, not a country of immigrants. And so what you were suggesting, Prof, regarding zonal administration in itself will not be incongruent with the native structure of Nigeria. In my mind, when you throw away the entire, constitution, rather than to moderate this constitution in line with some of the issues that we have there, it means that we are going to create mini Nigeria all over the place in 6 or 7, 8 zones, and then there'll be much more problem. So the question I have for you, Prof, is, do you think people will not doubt your integrity, which I'm sure I trust your integrity, if you are coming on the purpose, on the basis of this constitution, which is there right now, and then decide to change it completely when you become president of the Federal Republic, which I pray you become? Don't you think there will be some kind of doubt, and that action will throw our country again back into where we're coming from?
All right.
I wish
Thank you.
you good luck and success in your aspiration to become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless you, and God bless our country. Good morning.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you very
Professor,
much.
I'd like you to take note of those questions. We'll take
Sure.
some calls, then you can address all of them.
Okay.
Good morning. Lost that one. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Ayodeji.
All right, Ayodeji, very quickly, please.
Yes, I've been following the program. Professor is somebody who I've loved so much over time. I've seen and I've read about him. But I feel if he had started from the state level, he would have built an army of trust, because the political party is now being led by the younger generation. So that as at the time he's now aspiring for the presidency, he has so many people that can point out to the fact that, oh, he has done this at the state level, and we have seen what he has done, so we can vouch for him. Do we really think people will vouch for him based on the fact that, yes, he has tried contesting for a while, but is now coming back?
All right, thank you for your question, Ayodeji. Lagos Talks, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, Emmanuel, good morning. I'm the professor. Good morning.
Morning.
My first comment is today.
What's your name? What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Alex.
Okay. Oh, Alex, nice to have you.
Yes, I'm listening to this program with my family, and somebody says, all these people who went to school, all they come to do is speak English. Please, I want to tell everybody who's listening that it's time for Nigerians to begin to pay attention to people who understand the English, the economics, the politics, and the history of this country. If you don't have people like that in government, in the hands of government, we're not going to achieve anything. And one more thing, a couple more things, I'll try around that in a minute. You need somebody who has the ability to articulate that dream to the citizens and drive a dream. If you listen to the president, this president's speech this morning, all it was just a speech. There was nothing in it that could inspire my 7-year-old son that this is what my country is planning for me. It was empty. It was just a speech. And my 7-year-old boy can recite that speech. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex.
Wow. Wow. Can I take some of the questions now before I begin to forget them?
We'll manage the time we have, the little time we have.
Should I?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Let me start from the lady. The comment she made is very, very important. It's important that we have leaders who are visionary and can inspire a vision in the youth of our country and in our citizens. And this is the sort of president I believe I will be if given the opportunity by Nigerians. I remember one day at the airport when I was campaigning in 2019, and somebody came up to me and said, "You speak like Obama." What was he saying? He was saying that I inspire people, you know. So I take the point and I agree that we need, if you look at the leaders of all the countries that are doing very well, they're mainly intellectuals. They are mainly people who, as I say to Nigerians, are quote unquote blowing grammar. It is necessary to blow that grammar because that is how you drive. Ideas rule the world, and ideas can inspire people to develop themselves and be the best they can be. So it's a very necessary requirement for 21st century modern leadership of this Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I would propose, I would dare say, that is one of the things that I would bring to the table. On the gentleman who asked the question about starting from the state level, you see, in a normal polity, many political careers start from the local level and go upwards to the national level. And that's okay too. Even if it were to happen in Nigeria, it's okay. But there's a problem. Nigeria has a unique challenge. First of all is the challenge of nationhood. And my own career has prepared me to manage diversity. I worked in the United Nations with colleagues from 200 countries of the world. My career in Nigeria was in a federal institution, the Central Bank. And so I can work very well with Yorubas, with Hausas, with Igbos, with Ishekiris. It doesn't matter. This capacity is actually very important. And a local career does not necessarily give it to you, if you see what I'm saying. So there's a unique issue with Nigeria. And then you have, for example, the question of the economy. The presidency requires four things: the ability to build a nation, which I've just talked about, managing diversity and building institutions. The ability to secure Nigeria. We talked about that earlier in the program, about having an idea of national security. The ability to manage Nigeria's economy, and the ability to manage Nigeria's foreign affairs, international relations. If you look at my career, you will see that it has prepared me very well for these responsibilities, far more than maybe if I was a local politician. Yes, that would give me a base, but it's also possible to appeal broadly to a national audience and build your base locally in every part of the country. So that's my answer to that question. Then to the gentleman who asked the question about changing the constitution. Now, I think most Nigerians, if you take a poll of Nigerians today, those who can understand the constitution, I think you would see very clearly that many are not happy with the current constitution. And I believe that a majority would say they want a new constitution. Does a new constitution mean that we throw away everything in the old? No, we can adopt the aspects of the old constitution that are, we can all agree, are good, and then throw away the ones that are not good. You know, that's how you build, it doesn't mean a total throwing away of the old, no. That's when I call for a new constitution. The reason I call for it is because you need a constitution that the people themselves created. And the 1999 constitution was not created by Nigerian people, even though it says we the people. This is my approach to that question.
All right, thank you, Professor. I'm in a quandary of sorts now because the messages are quite many and the phone lines are still blinking, but unfortunately, we're basically out of time. So what I'll just read out a few more messages.
Sure.
For you to take away. This one says, "Good morning, Professor. I've listened to your discussions on this program and it's very inspiring. You've once had a serious romance with the government in power today."
That's not true.
All right. Then there's another message that says, "Professor, you said you're focusing on electoral reform. I would like to know what exactly you would like to see enacted and how you plan to achieve it, understanding that the odds are highly stacked against any reform that will enable free and fair elections that isn't fueled by money politics, bribery and corruption, which is the current state of affairs.
We as citizens must take responsibility for our future. We cannot become members of the surrender brigades. Let's stop giving ourselves excuses. Do your job as a citizen. You have an office, the office of the citizen. Discharge your responsibility and gather as many of your friends and relatives as possible to do so.
All right. The message from Charity just says that my earnest prayer is that God will make you the president of our great country, Nigeria. I wish you good luck in your aspiration.
Amen.
All right. So one more call, and then we go back to our interaction for just 1 minute before we call it a day. Good morning.
Good morning. You are man for picking my call.
Ambassador Musba, you have 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Yes.
Professor Chris, how are you?
I'm very well.
I have a question. Although the first time night I didn't vote for you, maybe next I will vote if you convince me. Now, you don't think Nigeria is too big for one man to rule? That's my first question for you. Second question, what is your preparation? Are you ready to reach grassroots all over? Yourself, not to do it for you. Yourself, partner, ready to reach all the grassroots. Are you prepared for that? Good morning.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you. We're preparing, yes, to reach all the grassroots in Nigeria. Like you said, Nigeria is a big country, but I would like to just correct you slightly. I have no interest in ruling Nigeria. I'm interested in leading Nigeria. Leadership has to do with vision. Ruling is like the people are subjugated, and that's not my vision. So that's my answer to your question.
All right, Professor.
But it's not too big. Nigeria is not too big to be led by a government. It's not one person that governs a country. The president may be at the head, but it's a government, you know. And the Soviet, what's it called? Russia is a big country. China is a very big country. It has a president. The United States is a big country. It has a president. So Nigeria is not too big. We just need to manufacture consensus on what Nigeria means to us, that we can all share, and have an ambition for Nigeria that we all share. All right. And I think that is a very important responsibility of the president to develop and articulate that.
In 20 seconds, a second question, can you answer in 20 seconds, how much are you prepared to reach the grassroots while on the campaign trail?
Yes, we are building our structures now, and over the next 1 year, we will have structures all over in every ward of the country. In fact, before the end of this year, we plan to have structures in every ward in Nigeria. So yes, we're taking that seriously, yes.
Final question from me. Professor, as a citizen, on a scale of 1 to 10, can you rate the performance of this current administration?
Well, I would rate it maybe 3 or 4.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this point, we have to wrap things up. Professor, thank you so much for making that time to join us on this show today. And for everybody still calling, the phone lines are still blinking, the messages are pouring in. Unfortunately, we do not have enough time to take all your calls. It's been very interesting having this discussion with Professor Kingsley Moghalu, ex-Deputy Governor of the CBN. And at some point, I'm looking at bringing you back so that we can continue this engagement and possibly find solutions to some of the begging questions around the problems that we face as a nation. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My honor, my pleasure. And I thank everyone who has participated and who has called in, and those we couldn't answer your questions, we're so sorry. But it's been a great pleasure.
Thank you very much. For everybody who has joined us today, a very big thank you. The Corridors will be back next Saturday at 11 a.m. And please always find time to join us and make your contribution as a citizen. Like I always do, let me encourage you to be very security conscious. If you see anything or you hear anything, please say something. Have a fantastic weekend.
We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's talk.